Hey everybody, Happy New Year! I decided to end 2022 with a trip out to the Lone Star State, mainly targeting redfish, but I heard there are other species to be had, so I was pretty excited. So when I was driving to the hotel, you could see on the power line there were just a ton of birds. And it was to the point that it was kind of, I wouldn't say scary, but it definitely reminded me of that Alfred Hitchcock movie, Birds. They were just all over, and probably didn't want to be under them when they went to the bathroom. So the next morning, I met my guide, Ernest, at the hotel, and we drove out to the launch ramp. To be honest, the weather was absolutely perfect. Like, this was right after the polar vortex, and I would say the only downside was the temperatures were probably 20 degrees lower than normal, but there was absolutely no wind at all, or at least negligible wind. But the cold temperatures did have an effect, and you'll see later on that we actually spent a lot of time fishing deeper waters. But to kick it off, we did start out in the flats and, well, I guess, semi-flats. Here I'm stripping in intermediate sink tip line, and this was probably maybe 5 minutes into fishing, and I get my first hookup. It's kind of neat because it was literally 10 feet away from me when I get this tug.
Got one. Yeah.
Not a big fish at all. But this actually ended up being my first redfish ever.
It was really
which happened
close.
to be probably like
really,
the smallest
really
redfish
close.
out there. I actually didn't think too much of it, and you can see I didn't even bother taking a picture of it.
It's all right.
Just because I thought I would catch more. Unfortunately, I did not catch any more. So my only redfish of the trip was like a 10-incher. So this clip here actually, unfortunately, got corrupted, which is really, really sad because you could tell from the screaming drag that this was a pretty good fish. And what was on the other end of the line was a decent-sized snook, at least for me, and it was my first snook on the fly. Yeah, I was actually really bummed out this clip didn't work out because it was a bunch of back and forth between the drag and the fish. Luckily, the guide Ernest was taking video during the fight, so got to see some action. From what I understand, he said that it wasn't too common to get a snook on the fly in that area, so I was pretty stoked about that. So like I said earlier, the temperatures were pretty cool and the water temperature wasn't ideal for flats fishing, so we moved on to the boat.
Yeah.
So this ended up being the first of many skipjack of the day. Well, at least something they call a skipjack. That was
Take a dump.
the Nito version that I was familiar with. But they actually were really fun to catch on the fly.
Oh, yeah,
They
looks
jumped like
funky.
mini tarpons, so
Oh, yeah,
I didn't mind catching them, even though Ernest wasn't a big fan of them. So that was apparently a famous carrier. He didn't remember the name of it, but there were a lot of boats being dismantled in that area.
Got one. Skipjack, probably. Probably skipjack.
So this is what I meant by mini tarpon. Like, they would go on these little acrobatic jumps
They
during the
fly pretty
runs.
good on the fly.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, I'm not going to discriminate. Nice.
So once he found a school, it seemed like
Who's
you would
bigger?
just
Yours
get
is bigger.
hit after hit. And since
Yeah.
he didn't want them on the boat, we couldn't really unhook them ourselves. So we moved on after catching a few, just so he didn't have to keep unhooking them for us. I included this
Hello,
clip
tap.
just because towards the end,
Probably.
you'll hear,
Skipjack.
actually you'll hear Ann see me point at something,
got
and
him.
what it was a school of probably 7 or 8 Jack Crevalles, and they look
got
like
one too?
mini
Yeah.
GTs from
Skipjacks all
above,
around.
and I really would have loved to hook one, but I kind of saw Ernest's point after a while. You had to weed through all the skipjack hits and attacks to possibly get
Yeah.
something more substantial to bite, so it just didn't happen that day.
Sometimes you'll see some following you.
Yeah. The last spot I saw a bunch follow.
But you can tell that the skipjacks were giving a pretty good fight, so if I was given the choice of no fish or fishing for skipjacks, I would take skipjacks all day, every day.
I'll just grab it. Oh, there's a bit. Oh, something big fish right there. What are those?
Something big?
Yeah, big school.
Those are Jack. Catch those.
I can't. I gotta fish it.
No, I'm just telling
Fine.
Ryan,
Just
hit
drop
him.
it?
Yeah.
Those are
cast
the ones
that.
you want to cook.
Yeah, like I said before, we didn't see any more after this, so that was unfortunate. We ended up going back to the other spot, and this is where I hooked onto actually something pretty big. The funny thing is it wasn't pulling like the snook, and it wasn't jumping like the skipjack, but you could tell that there was some weight behind it, so it was an interesting fish and fight.
It feels a little.
I didn't
heavier
have
than a
to go to
skipjack.
reel, but I couldn't just power it up onto the boat either.
It's is that a redfish? No, I already got one, a small one.
Oh, big trout.
Oh, it's a
Don't lose that one. That's a big trout. That's like a trophy, dude.
You could tell how excited Ernest was, and it's funny because he took out his cam and just
Sea
started
trout, I
filming
guess.
right away.
Let me get a video.
Coming this side. Nice.
That's a beautiful one.
That's like a trophy.
I think it ended up being around 28 inches, so it's definitely a big fish. Kind of just wished it would have ran like a snook, but I'm not going to complain that much.
Pretty good.
Little.
So this one
Yeah.
ended up being another species. It was a croaker, which I've never actually caught a croaker with a fly rod before, so added this one to the list.
No, that's a croaker. No? Yeah, that was a croaker. How was that rockfish?
It was good. I mean, is it an X or is it a salt?
And this was
Which
another
stage is
snook
it?
on the fly.
Look.
Snook, second snook. That one's been. Someone take a bite out of it?
Yeah, he took a bite out of it.
Already?
So after a while, we went back to chase after those Jack Crevalles, but ended up being a lot more skipjacks, which I won't show anymore after this. But it was fun to end the day on basically non-stop action. So after a while, since we weren't getting, I guess, quality fish, let's put it that way, we decided to end it and kick off the next phase of my trip, which was tour the Central Texas barbecue scene. And if you don't really care about barbecue, you could probably end the video now, and thanks for watching. But I did try to hit all the classic spots in Lockhart, starting with Black's Barbecue, which I actually thought was the best out of the 3 I visited. This one was Smitty's. I liked the black stalactite smoke hanging off the ceiling. And this is Kritz's. So the last place I visited was Valentino's Tex-Mex in Austin. And this one was actually ranked pretty highly in Austin and in the Texas Monthly Top 50. And you could tell the brisket was juicier here. Thanks for watching, and hope everyone has a good start to the new year, and I'll catch you guys at the next trip. Thanks. Bye.